Hello and welcome back to the channel. Time to get into this week's gaming news. Okay, the first bit of news is about Grounded, a game that by many not too intelligent people, was downplayed and hated from the get-go. This is just released on Game Pass in a preview. It's not actually released fully yet, it's just a preview version. That you can still get on Game Pass for free. But however, it's also released on Steam. Now, this is the interesting thing. Another Xbox Game Pass game tops the Steam charts. Yes, it's the highest selling game on Steam. The new survival game about kids who are shrunk down to the size of bugs is the latest Xbox Game Studios title to make its way to Steam and climb to the top of the platform sales. Developed by Microsoft owned Obsidian Entertainment, Grounded was released in early access on PC and Xbox One July 28th. So yes, this is knocked out games like Destroy All Humans that recently released, I think around there at the same time actually as Grounded, and yes, it's top of the Steam charts, and people are paying $29.99 for this preview version of the game on Steam because it's a very good game and it's very popular. There is no damage control in that fact, I'm afraid. It's top of the Steam charts. It's selling for $30 and it's not even fully released yet, and it's knocking out all other competition. So there we go. That's the first bit of quick news about Grounded, which I've played. It's a very good game. Don't knock it until you tried it, basically. Go and play the game. It's good fun, easy to get into, quite not too easy to get into. It's got a bit of a learning curve. It's quite difficult in some ways. It's very much survival. So if you like those kind of games, which I do, you'll find it easy to get into. If you don't, it's going to have a hard learning curve, sort of like Sea of Thieves, where some people got on that and they couldn't play it. It's too hard for them. It's not very holdy-handy. That's why I've released a video recently just showing you how to make an axe and a hammer, which many people didn't know how to do because it's not too clear on how to do it. And yes, and the game is quite frightening to the point where they've added a mode in, an arachnophobia mode, where you can get rid of the spiders out of the game because they're too scary for some people. So yes, please go and check out this game. It's on Xbox. You can buy it on Steam, or you can get it from Game Pass. Go and buy it, go and play it if you can get it free from Game Pass. Fantastic game, top of the charts at the moment. Well done, Grounded and Rare. Obsidian, I should say. Rare working on Everwild. Let's move on to the next bit of news. Okay, moving on to Spiderman Miles Morales for the PS5. Loads of information, or interesting information, not any information about the game. I find it quite ironic that this is going to be a launch title, and Halo Infinite's getting a lot of hate for its gameplay, whereas they've shown no gameplay of their only launch title so far. No gameplay being shown of it, yet everyone's raving about it and making it as amazing, and hating on the Xbox for showing no gameplay. Whereas it seems to be okay for Sony to show no gameplay, but that's nothing new, is it? Do as you say, not as we do, it appears to be. But yeah, all shucks, here we go again, folks. Right, yeah, so what's happening here is there's a rumour going around, what it's kind of been hinted at, that the new Miles Morales game was, well, firstly, it's meant to be a standalone game, they said, and it's all hinted that it's going to be a sequel. It's not going to be a sequel, it's going to just be an expansion of the first game. But it's a standalone game, nothing related to the first one. How it's turned out now is that they're going to release, it's turned out that this game is more or less a remaster of the first game, a remastered expansion of the first game, which brings I'll go back to that. But also they're going to bundle the original game, PS4 game, with it as a remastered with it as well. Now the issue here is they said it's a standalone game, a remastered bracketed version of the game. Firstly, if it's remastered, then it obviously wasn't made for the PS5. It was obviously made for the PS4, which, as I suggested before in previous videos, it was clearly an expansion or DLC for the original game, which they've delayed for the PS5. This is kind of ringing true in my ears now, because for one, why would a game need to be remastered if it's made for the PS5? Why would you need to remaster a PS5 game that's already made for the PS5? Unless it wasn't made for the PS5, hence why it's being remastered. Or as they call it, they've called it something else. Whatever they call it, they said it here. They've called it something else, upgraded or something. Like I said, which is clearly remastered. They remastered the game because it wasn't a PS5 game. Let's be honest. That's why you've seen no gameplay. Secondly, they said it was a standalone game, but now they're saying they're going to bundle the first game with it, which is also going to be remastered. This is ringing alarm bells here, because it very much gives the impression now if you bundle in a remastered version with this apparent standalone game, it's not standalone, is it, anymore? Because you've got the first game with it, which is remastered, just like this game. Let's be honest, Sony, it's DLC, isn't it? Before you jump on my back, this fellow here, he has a channel called Hoag's Law. Now, basically what he is a lawyer. He was brought to light to me by a PS4 fanboy that was trying to make a point, which he failed because he brought Hoag Law and threw Hoag Law at me regarding a game, which backfired on him because if he went through, like I did, I firstly listened to his video, and secondly went back through his backdraft. He actually confirmed what I was saying to the guy, and the guy promptly vanished. This guy is a lawyer, Richard Hoag Law, that looks at both sides. He's on the fence. What he likes to do is make videos about how both sides are defining things in gaming, especially when it comes around suggesting or saying things. He likes to highlight misinformation or things where they've been a bit devious. So, in this video, I've just got the title of it here. Forget Halo Infinite. Has Sony been lying about Spider-Man? And as he says, on sort of just to the right there, Web of Lies, Sony got its own messaging problems? Yes, it is. And he goes on to say, well, basically confirm what I've been saying. He basically says that this game isn't, by all definition, it doesn't come across as a standalone game. It comes across as a remastered DLC of the original game. And they may be now working on the standalone. They might even manage to get a standalone game version of it, but it's still remastered. The game is, by their own words, Insomniacs, it's compared to the the light game, the Uncharted game, the spin-off of that, which is only 7 hours long, and they said this Spider-Man game is going to be roughly the same. So this game is going to be 7 hours long, at most. So it's not a full AAA game for a start. Probably why we've not seen any gameplay. Secondly, to go back to my point, it looks like it's just delayed DLC, which they might be possibly working on, trying to make it standalone. But as it stands, they're obviously having problems with it now, and now this thing's come out that they might be releasing the first game with it, which most definitely doesn't make it a standalone game, and most definitely doesn't make it a new game for PS5. Otherwise, we'd have seen some gameplay by now. So the bottom line is, think before you buy it. If you're looking to buy a PS5 and spend £500 on it, just be aware that the first game that's coming out for it is going to be a very short remastered game. That's going to be its first game. And yeah, I don't know when it's going to. They've not announced any other launch games yet of what's coming to it at launch. I'm talking launch. And its other games like Horizon Zero Dawn and that are at least a year off. And Ratchet and Clank I don't think is coming out this year either. Or GT, I don't believe it's coming out this year. So yeah, the only game they've actually confirmed as a launch time game is Spider-Man, which is coming across as just remastered DLC. That is naughty, in my opinion. You talk about not wanting to buy a new console to play old games. Well, there we have it. Let's move on to the next bit of news. Okay, Sony recently said this. Sony doubles down on PS5 exclusivity. We can't take everyone with us after Phil Spencer's comments. Sony fires back. Right, now what this is basically about is Phil come out and said they want to make their games cross-platform, cross-gen. They want to reduce exclusives because everyone should be able to play games. And why not? There is no reason why you'd want everyone to play your games. Just the fact that it's better for gamers because everyone can play your games, but also because of there's a thing called revenue, it's a thing called money. If your item, if whatever it is you're selling, if it's free if it's open to more people to buy it, then it makes more money. This is why PlayStation 4s sell more than Xbox Ones, because they're sold in much more many markets, like 3 times as many countries and markets than Xbox. So undoubtedly it's going to sell more consoles. And that's Sony's thing, selling consoles. They like to sell consoles. However, the problem with selling consoles is consoles are sold at a loss, a massive loss. Especially looking into this gen, they're going to be taking a massive hit. So they're going to recoup their funds on software. However, your software sold is limited by how many consoles you sold. So if you sold, I'll give you an example, 1 million consoles, and you sell a game that's exclusive, you can only sell at most 1 million of that game. So you can only, your software is only 1 million. However, if you sell 1 million consoles, but your software is on loads of other platforms. Let's say it's on a platform that has 50 million, for example, Xbox One and PC, then it's opened up and now it's got a market of 50 plus million from day one. Thus you sell more games, thus you make more money, thus you can buy more studios, thus you can put more money into games, thus you can sell more games, thus you can make more money, rinse, repeat. So, but what I don't like here about what Sony are doing here is that they're, as I said, they're doubling down on exclusivity. So they're going to bring out the PS5 and make the games for it exclusive. Now, while a lot of people, idiots is a bit harsh, but while a lot of people are saying, yes, games should be exclusive, what they're highlighting here is we can't take everyone with us. So as they continuously highlight, there's 110 million PS4s sold at the moment, which is great. However, Sony have announced that they've increased their production of the PS5, so they're only going to make the boost output this year to between 9 to 10 million units. So they're going to make 10 million PS5 consoles for its first year. So anyone with a grasp on business or math or common sense can take 10 million away from the 110 million PS4s that are out there. So let me explain it better for you. There are 110 million PS4 owners. There are going to be 10 million PS5s in the first year. So 10 million of those PS4 owners can buy a PS5. That leaves 100 million PS4 owners with no PS5. That will leave 100 million PS4 owners unable to buy a PS5 or play any of its games, its next-gen games, because they're exclusive. That leaves 100 million PS4 owners unable to play next-gen games and won't have anything to play on their PS4 either, because Sony have not announced any exclusives of PS4 or any PS4 games coming out, have they? Can anyone just run off a list of PS4 games that are coming out over the next year, like from now to next year? What PS4 games there are? We know what is coming for PS5, and we know their games are exclusive. Sony have made a massive highlight about that. But what happens? The question is, what happens to the 100 million PS4 owners that can't buy a PS5 because they're only going to make 10 million of them in the first year? What will they do? That's a question. I'm throwing that question at you guys watching. What will they do? They can't play PS4 games. They can't play PS5 games. What do they do? And that's why Sony is saying we can't take everyone with us. They're quite happy to dump 100 million of their players behind that for innovation. Apparently, that I think is pretty disgusting. It's also bad business because you've just dumped 100 million players. That means you've just dumped 100 million players' revenue. Let's just give Miles Morales, as we talked about, if that game was going to be dropped on PS4 as well, as part of what they originally going to do, as I believe, as DLC. That means Miles Morales would now not only just sell the whatever launch it's going to be, 10 million say, but it would have also been open to the 100 million PS4 owners, so they would have also all bought it. Now Sony are not doing that, it's exclusive. That means 100 million people will not be able to play Miles Morales, and will not be able to ever play it until they can buy a PS5. Before you say, yeah, we're all going to buy PS5s, you're not all going to buy PS5s because Sony have said they're only making 10 million of them. So 100 million of you literally cannot buy PS5. So 100 million cannot play Miles Morales game. So that is anti-consumer. That is very naughty, Sony, very naughty indeed, and very bad business, especially where Xbox are doing the complete opposite. They're going cross-gen. So when Halo Infinite, whether you like it or not, when Halo Infinite drops and it's going to be popular, it's going to drop on Xbox Series X. Let's just say they only sell 5 million. It's going to drop on Xbox One, which is the 50 million of the market. It's going to go on PC. It possibly could go on Steam. So it's going to have at least a market of 100 million from day one, which is what Miles Morales would have had if they opened it up to cross-gen, but it doesn't. So Miles Morales is going to be sold to 10 million at most. PS5 gamers. Halo Infinite's going to be sold to probably a minimum of 100 million Xbox gamers. Now, let's go back to what I said about software sales. Software makes money, not consoles. So, at a time where Sony have been taking a massive hit on console sales, or massive hit on consoles because every time they sell a console, it's sold at a loss. They're hoping to recoup the money with software. They won't be recouping that money, basically, for the first year or so. They won't be recouping that money. No doubt Sony will pick up the pace and start selling consoles and the prices drop. They do eventually do that. At the beginning, Sony are going to be taking a massive loss. Meanwhile, Xbox will be hit the ground running. They're going to hit the ground selling games. Bop, 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 throwing them out there. Revenues coming in. Bop, 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 bop. Games coming out. Bop, 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 bop. And they're releasing more. Factually, they're releasing more first-party games than Sony are. So, I mean, we'll chase it up in a video that's going to come up with me and Red Panda. We're going to do a video, podcast this weekend, covering both shows, the Xbox and the PS5 show events, and we're going to go through everything, including what games are showed, what ones show gameplay, what ones are first party, and we're going to cover all that just so we can just settle the dust here, because there's a lot of shade being thrown at Xbox saying they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they did this, they didn't do that. But let's actually look at the facts, and we're going to go through that and actually look at the facts and see who actually did show more. Let's see who actually did make more of the effort, rather than from a biased fanboy stance. We're going to actually have it black and white on the screen. Oh look, this company showed more gameplay. Oh look, this company showed more first party. Oh look, this company's got more launch titles. That's how we're going to do it. So please join us for that when we do that. So let's move on to the next bit of news. And to the final bit of news, I suppose you can call this news. Gaming tycoon Gabe Newell, many of you might not know him. He was recently on a New Zealand show. Shout out to Red Dead Panda. He co-founded Valve, and now he does all Steam. He's basically the head of Steam, I believe. So he's quite a big fella, and that's why he's called Tycoon, because he's fairly wealthy. He's most certainly richer than you and I combined. So he recently went on a New Zealand show and talked about some gaming stuff. Now, the interesting things I found to come from this was, firstly, his take on VR, and it's basically where it sort of backs up what Phil was saying, how we're not ready for it. It's not there yet. You get a lot of people saying, "Oh no, the Xbox won't jump on it because they're not good enough." Blah blah. The technology is not good enough yet, and he more or less confirms that. Especially with regards to PSVR, which has issues. Let's just listen to what he's got to say.
Advice on when I play on my VR, how not to feel seasick when I take it off?
So those are really bugs and defects in the systems. You should buy a better system. There are a bunch of these technical issues associated with frame rates and how much latency, and those are what are triggering what is called in our field is called simulator sickness. But those shouldn't exist. That's just a sign that they're not doing it right.
I think the bug in your system is probably Pinot Gris. I mean,
so there we go. So VR, regarding VR, yeah, he pretty much said what Phil said. Phil said we might have it on the Xbox X, but it's just the technology is just not there. And then he said we possibly will have it for the Xbox Series X, depending on if the popularity improves and if the tech improves. That's exactly the kind of the point he was making. This is why it's just not popular at the moment. It's not popular. You can go on about the PSVR sales, but they're bad. They're not great. It's not sold well. The game's not selling well. And just as Gabe says, it's just not. They're not good systems. Especially the PSVR is no by near any means the best one on the system. It's actually probably ranked about 4th. There are far better units on the market. It's just not good, and as he says there, if you're having problems with it, it's because it just shows it's not good, and people are having problems. That's why people are coming off feeling sick and nausea and blah blah blah, because it's just not that good system. And until it improves, yes, we need to just wait after I think Xbox tackle it. I would like to next gen. I would have wanted to buy a PS5. I'm not much of a reason to buy a PS5 at the moment. I might buy it if definitely is the old Spiderman is remastered and bundled with PS5, then I might buy it for this old Spider-Man game, because I had no reason to buy PS4, and that might give me one of the reasons that, and the Star Wars VR game. But I want VR to improve too, because I want to get into VR, and as it stands at the moment, it is just, as Gabe said, it's just not good enough on console, more or less. Let's move on to what the other thing he has to say though, which is interesting.
Hey, here's a computer question for you. This Christmas, PlayStation and Xbox are both coming out with new consoles. Which is better?
The Xbox.
Really?
Why?
because it is.
Because you used to work for Microsoft?
I don't have a stake in that race. So obviously we do most of our development on personal computers. So, but of the two, I would definitely go with an Xbox.
So there we have it. An interesting point to highlight there is that he said, I don't have a stake in either company. And that's very important because a lot of the people, if you look, do have a stake in one or the other company. So what we're hearing from him is a completely unbiased opinion. Because he's in competition with both companies, because he's Steam and Valve. So he's in competition with both companies. But he shows an Xbox Series X, and there's a flat-out reason why. It basically is more powerful, pretty much on every level, other than the SSD, which with Xbox's velocity, I believe, it's going to massively narrow that gap more than people believe. So games are going to run better on the Xbox Series X and look better, frame rates and resolutions, plus the price, plus could be better in PS5, which is what Phil said. On top of that, you've got things like Game Pass and things that give you the complete freedom, and they're putting the games on Steam as well, because they want you to play the games anywhere, which suits him as he's a PC gamer. So his unbiased opinion is he puts Xbox Series X. He's not probably played on both of them, but he will put Xbox Series X, and he is a man. He's not a nobody, as you all know. So there we have it. Thank you for watching again. Please share this out to everyone that you can. Check out my promotional videos for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X that I've done recently. I'm trying to get my subs up, or just get something that I can, because I want to donate my old consoles to hospitals and or wards for children with cancer, and I want to, if possible, get some money together so I can buy some extra consoles, so I can also give them to hospitals for children with cancer. So please jump on that, help me out there, because I can't do it alone, because I'm not. These consoles are going to be £500 each, so I can't just go out and just wait out and buy loads of consoles, especially as they will be limited at launch. How many I can buy? I think you can only buy one, I believe, of each at launch. That's what I've heard somewhere. In addition, check out those videos and check out the podcast from me and Red Dead Panda, which we'll be dropping this weekend. Look out for that coming out. So thank you all for watching, and please share it on Twitter. Goodbye for now.